Emmett. Right off the bat, Emmett doesn't quite check all the same boxes as the other chosen ones do, but it's that lack of traits that make him so. Emmett is a completely normal, regular, absolutely average guy. He may not have a lot of experience fighting or leading or coming up with plans, or having ideas in general. In fact, he's not even that smart. And he's not what you'd call a creative type. Plus, generally unskilled. Also, scared and cowardly. Now, I know what you're thinking. He is the least qualified person in the world to lead them. And you are right. But these things are Emmett's most important qualities. They are what makes him special. He's the perfect vessel for the specialness because his life is filled with so much, quote, nothingness. But someone like that is able to change the world because you don't need anything other than the belief that you can. Nothing about Emmett is special externally, which makes him the perfect person to be the chosen one. He truly is the hero of 1,000 faces because his face is so generic it matches literally every other face in the universe. At first, Emmett just wants to fit in and be liked, and doesn't seek any sort of heroism. In life and on the job, he wants to please whoever he can, which makes him blend with the crowd because he doesn't stand out on his own. Once he begins to believe in himself, he wants to show the bad guy the same belief in himself to do the right thing. The main toil and strife Emmett goes through is internal, to choose to believe he's special. It's made to sound simple, like a cat poster, but it can be a tricky concept to understand and put forth into your life. Emmett discovers by the end that fitting in really isn't worth having because it's our beliefs that make us who we are, and we're all special. He changes his own in-universe worlds for the better, and in doing that, resolves the actual conflict between Will Ferrell and his son. I guess because the real world is the Lego world, and the Lego world is the real world, it's hard to say who does what. I guess the kid does then. I guess the kid resolves the conflict between the dad and himself, the son. Don't know. The world of the Lego people will remain changed forever as the man upstairs has changed his ways. Conflict on a spiritual level is unlikely to continue, but this being a movie, IP and script conflict is certainly possible. But the themes would be lost and it would lose the essence of the message. Emmett has ended the true conflict and has shown everyone that you can choose who you want to be just by believing, and that's what matters. He's one of the few that managed to change our world as well. Plenty of the heroes change their own in-universe world just fine, but not as many you're able to take the lessons from and use them to change your world that you, the audience, live in. Emmett is able to do that. My guy is able to do that. So as far as heroic effectiveness goes, easy S tier for my guy Emmett. Love to see that, especially from a Lego. That's a perfect segue to our next hero to look at, Will Turner. I wish we still made pirate movies, but whatever. Will Turner is not a chosen one. He does have an air of destiny about him, but he doesn't really follow the pattern that well. He's the blood son of a pirate, but raised in a more aristocratic approach as an orphan blacksmith. He trains with the blades as he makes them in pursuit of his own independent heroicness. However, he can't keep himself from the sea, and the inevitable piracy that comes with it. He loves Elizabeth Swann above all and will go to any means to protect her. He's not supposed to be a hero, but his courageousness and steadfast attitude is unparalleled. He doesn't really want to be a hero either, and he often isn't. His motives and alliances change constantly and dramatically, but it's always in the name of those he loves, Elizabeth and his father, Bill. He lies to people all the time about what he's doing and where he's going, but he's always trying to save his family. Fuck ton of toil, loads of strife to get either of those people to safety too. Bill is bound to the Flying Dutchman, and Elizabeth is always in the thick of some pirate plan. However, their love is definitely worth having in the end. Look at her. Will places family above all, and it totally pays off. He changes his own world greatly, and even the world at large in the end. He becomes the new captain of the Dutchmen, ferrying souls lost to the sea. The world will remain changed for a while, but change is inevitable as the planet of piracy shrinks. Conflict is almost guaranteed for pirates, but maybe not on a mythical scale. Will's world will remain safe for a long time. While his means may differ from your conventional hero, Will manages to save those who are closest to him and change the world for the better. That's pretty good for a pirate. We'll give A tier to Will. Will's a good guy. And with that, we'll get off the Black Pearl and board the NSEA Protector, helmed by Jason. Tim Allen. You could argue that sci-fi cinema's finest hour is Galaxy Quest, but that's not this video. Here, we'll be analyzing Jason Nesmith, the fake captain of the fake world, played by a even faker actor than the real fake actor playing him in the movie about his fake TV show. Jason is not a chosen one. He's an arrogant lead actor gallivanting with an unearned swagger through his life, banking on his one successful role for his lavish lifestyle. Captain Peter Quincy Taggart is supposed to be a hero, but Jason Nesmith is just living in the shadow of his own perceived greatness. Jason doesn't really want to be a hero, just to act like one. In both his personal and professional life, he rarely drops the captain swagger act. He wants to be seen like Taggart, but knows he isn't really that type of guy, so he has to pretend all the time. He toils and strives to be like Taggart for sure, by getting sent to space to a real-life replica of the fake show he was on. He now has to act like the captain he's been acting like for years, but now it's for real in the real life. It's super fucked. He does take to it pretty quick, though. Realizing he was in space and on a ship and in danger is too awesome to turn down, so he returns when asked and wants his crew to join him. He discovers throughout that it's worth being the hero if you actually are one instead of acting like one. The joy of actually helping and being genuinely thanked is unparalleled. He changes his own world for the better, and he's now a better and wiser man, having inspired himself and those around him to be their best selves. The world at large may not change as much, but Jason's world certainly has, and conflict is unlikely to continue. He even manages to get the show rebooted. He's a good man and a good captain, but he's an alright hero, so B tier for my guy Jason. Pretty good. Let's look at another one. A real guy's guy, talking none other than my guy Hercules. I actually knew a guy like this once, but he couldn't live for shit. I am on my way. I can go the distance. Hercules is definitely a chosen one. He's the literal son of the God King.
Should Hercules fight, you will fail.
They say that, the fates. His fate, right off the bat, is confirmed to be to vanquish Hades. So Hades cursed him to be mortal and forced him to live as a man for years, making him the walker of both worlds. He's also absolutely supposed to be a hero. The actual plot point in the movie is about trying to become a true hero, which Herc must discover for himself. At first, he just wants to be like everyone else, a normal guy. But then he learns he must become a hero, and when he does, he loves it. But then he meets a woman and falls in actual love. A lot of toiling, a lot of strife. It's the Hercules story. None of it was easy. He beat the fuck out of the centaur and crippled like a dozen monsters after that. But Zeus tells him that just fighting monsters isn't enough. So he eventually gives up his god powers to save Meg and fights the Cyclops anyway, still kicking its ass. Then he grabs all the Titans with his fucking hands and throws them into space. Fucking wild. Motherfucker dives headfirst into the river Styx for fine shite and tanks that shit like a man and walks out having become an actual god. That's badass. That's peak male fantasy right there. After all that shit, he realizes the love on Earth is worth more than the life of the gods any day. So he remains mortal with Meg. He becomes a hero so incredible, they put a picture of him in the stars. Hercules changes the whole world for sure. Shit ton of monsters slain. The world should remain changed too, but I don't know really. It's fantasy Greece, so a shit ton of stuff could happen. They'll have plenty of money problems, but Herc can't help with that. So overall, I'd say conflict is improbable to continue, but you know, still solid B tier heroism. So good on you, Herc. You know what B also stands for? Batman is the coolest superhero ever. There are others I could describe as cool, but none of that really nail it like Batman does, time and time again. But does his heroism match his innate badassery? Let's see. He's not a chosen one. He's a genius billionaire playboy philanthropist with attachment issues and way too much time on his hands. Bruce Wayne could be a far bigger and greater hero to Gotham City than Batman ever could, but Bruce Wayne doesn't get to punch bad guys, so fuck him, I guess. Alfred, I'm finally gonna save the city. Oh, wonderful, Master Wayne. Are you going to introduce police reform or open mental health advocacy places or open rehabilitation centers for anybody? I think I'm gonna dress like a bat and learn kung fu and shit. Of course, Master Wayne, right? Right you are. He does still want to be a hero, but he knows it's almost impossible in Gotham. He wants to rid the streets of crime while showing the city a better way forward, but can never seem to do either. He toils all the time and strife is near constant. Batman does not get days off. Well, I guess he kind of does because he's a bat. Regardless, it's certainly worth it to save the city from itself, but it's always impossible. He changes the world for sure and saves it plenty of times, but again, superheroes never get done doing that. The world remains changed for the worse, and conflict is never ending. Sorry, bats, but all your bad guys are right. You gotta start killing them. It's gonna have to be C tier for the B-Man. Bruce Wayne could fix this. Bruce Wayne could take care of, like, almost all of the problems facing Gotham. With money, he has money and knowledge of how the city works and who the money should go to. But he, like, gatekeeps it behind what? Like, beating him up first? And like taking crime to a head-on level of let me beat the shit out of the clown. I don't get to throw this around. I don't get to throw this at any senator's heads, you know? I get to throw batarangs at the Joker. I get to throw batarangs at bad guys when I'm Batman. It's fucking awesome. And that, you know, fuck, man. That's why every superhero does any of that shit, is it's just too fucking cool. Yeah, like, being Batman would be pretty sick. But then, again, I would feel morally bad for not helping people more sooner. You know? It doesn't weigh on his conscience ever that he could have been doing more all the time in his life. His whole life, he could have been doing more, and he didn't. So, those would be tough. Those would be tough. Superman, you kind of have no choice. That's why I didn't include him. Fuck Superman. Fuck his movie coming out. It better be good, bro. Batman 2 is taking forever. James Gunn says it's fine. Fuck you. It's not fine. It's taking too long. I think it's taking too long. You didn't not blew your shot. You're taking too fucking long. He's taking too fucking long. He's taking too long. Why is it not cool to say he's taking too fucking long to make a movie? Everybody's taking too long to make movies, bro. Everybody's taking way too long to make any fucking movie at all. It takes ages to get shit done now. Why? Later I'm going to talk about Avatar and Jake Sully from the Avatar, the Blue Guy franchise. But I'm not going to talk about Way of Water or any of the other ones because they don't matter. They don't count. It's not a franchise. Not really. It's a cash grab AI bullshit. Way of Water is horrible. Horrible. Almost unwatchable. It makes no fucking sense. It's like 45 minutes to an hour too long. It's just ridiculous. Avatar 1, 2009, no franchise on the table. It was for a second, but then they blew it. It is 2 hour 40, but lean and mean. You do not waste time. You get about it. You get moving. There's nothing in that is stupid or is useless. Each scene has a purpose and a designated thing to do and tell you and a message to convey. And it's honestly refreshing to see in such a movie. So you could like cut that movie down objectively, but you would lose essence of the movie. Avatar 2, you can cut like literally like 45 minutes, maybe more, out of that shit, and it would make sense. It would be better. It would be better if you just cut shit out of there. It was supposed to be about Batman, but it was, and I did it. So fuck you, actually. Let's take a look at another real manly man. Indiana Jones is a total badass. You wouldn't think a history professor gets active like that, but Indy really does get about it. He's no chosen one, just a highly knowledgeable and highly skilled archaeologist capable of finding any artifact known or even unknown to man. He's not really supposed to be a hero, but he does heroic things to save those he cares about. In Doom Temple, he saves the village for pretty much no reason other than he was asked to, so that was nice of him. Also, why is the blonde even in the movie? Why does she go with Indy that whole time? They have no reason to keep her around. She just goes with him the rest of the movie, and we just shut up about it and deal with it. Indy has to deal with it the whole time. She's a total nuisance. The most heroic part of Indy's whole fucking thing is dealing with her the whole time. She is just a total drag on the story, I feel like. She just gets in the way of stuff that happens. The scene where they debate fucking each other can be cut. We can lose that scene. We don't need to see this. Why do we spend any screen time with the two of them methodically, comically debating if they should go fuck each other? What the fuck? Cut that shit. He doesn't really want to be a hero either. He just wants to teach history and find ancient artifacts so they can be brought to museum and people can learn about it, which I suppose is a righteous and somewhat heroic cause. In Raiders, he only goes to find the Ark if he insists the museum gets it. In Crusade, he goes on the mission because his dad is in danger, which is definitely heroic. And in Crystal Skull, he doesn't even know Shia, but when he asks for help, Indy is there. The thrill of discovery is too powerful to refuse, even when we have no idea what's going on. All that stuff is pretty heroic all around. Also, I know you've heard it already, but I was a child! I was in love! It was wrong and you knew it! What the fuck does that mean? That does not sound heroic. Lots of toil and strife to find any of those artifacts, though. A rival group is always on the search for whatever thing Indy happens to be looking for at the time, and it tends to be Nazis. It's always worth being on the right and humble side of history. Indy loves his work at the school and abroad, teaching and experiencing history firsthand. Learning and studying the artifacts is a more fulfilling and enriching life than stealing them to sell for money. I am still a bit hesitant overall about the whole like stealing artifacts and putting in a museum. I guess it's to learn about it so it's righteous, but like, why? Who asked you to? Why does it matter that we learn about these artifacts? That these specific artifacts get taken somewhere and we can study them? The idol in Raiders, like the people there still looks like worship it. They know it's there. It's not like ancient lost history. This is an active community and tribe of people who worship this thing. Why does Indy want it for the museum? Why does the museum have to have the things they have? Go get this cross. Go get this painting. Go get this necklace. What about these? Why does it have to leave it all? Just leave it where it's supposed to go. History got it. History got it. Sorry. Just leave where it's supposed to. Wherever around the world you put it, just leave it there. What if that's its best destiny, is staying there? So I'm not totally sold on the whole kind of concept. I guess it's to learn. And through these artifacts, we can learn more about the culture. But, like, does it need to be? Does it have to be? Do we have to raid? You're still stealing. You're breaking into tombs and stealing. You're raiding tombs like that bitch. So, I don't know. He changes his own world for sure. The world at large could give a shit about Indiana Jones, but his life and the lives of the people close to him certainly change. He always learns something new and has his opinions changed. although he always says, I don't believe in that hocus pocus bedtime story, and gets irrefutable proof that it's not hocus or pocus, but a very real type of magic or divine power. Yet he doesn't give a fuck. He brushes it off like he expected it to happen anyway. The world will not remain changed after his actions. He does not affect the world at large, and in fact, conflict is still likely. There's always some new nonsense magic thing to find, and some evil group who wants to use it for evil. You'd figure after his encounters with the divine that Indy would feel some type of way about it, but not really. For more on that, I recommend this other video, Indiana Jones and the Objective Existence of God. Banger video, very cool stuff. Indiana Jones doesn't change the world too much. He saves his friends, but they all do that, so, you know what? It's just gonna have to be an all-around C tier for Indy. Whatever, bro. Adventure movies are out of fashion now. Let's take a look at something hip. Since the remake is almost line for line the same script, we can count it in what I'm talking about, but I like the cartoon, so I'm showing you the cartoon. Hiccup isn't really a chosen one in that there's not a plot point that makes him magical or destined or whatever. He's the way he is because that's the way he is. He simply is that way. So he's similar to a chosen one because he is simply built different and can see a better way. You wouldn't expect it from the scrawniest, puniest, tiniest Viking in Burke, although maybe you would. Hiccup is still supposed to be at least heroic in the Viking sense. As the son of the chief, he has to learn to be brave, strong, courageous, and to lead his people into prosperity. He wants to be heroic like his dad wants, but he knows it's just not who he is. He knows he can be heroic in different ways, and wants to show the village what's possible, but is often scolded and put down for trying new things. Hiccup goes through a lot of personal and mental toil and strife during the story, but there's also some harsh physical consequences for his actions, which affects not just him, but the whole village. In the end, Hiccup gets everything he wants. The respect of his father, admiration of his village, and the love of a girl, almost any of which alone are worth fighting for, and Bro secures all three. Hiccup totally changes everything for the better, an often unseen and the greatest possible hero result. He alone sees a better and brighter future where 300 years of warriors could not. He doesn't kill the dragon he shot down, but saves it, risking his life immediately and accepting the consequences like a fucking man. He shows more heroism and genius by learning about and studying the dragons than anyone in history. The world will be changed fundamentally because of his actions, long after any story ends. Conflict on a Viking scale is likely to continue, but dragons disappeared into the earth or whatever, so they're not coming back up until the next media. Hiccup is a unique example of a hero because he slam dunks the world with his raw power and ingenuity. Everything about everyone's lives will be better because of Hiccup and the dragons. So, of course, you know we gotta give it to him. Hiccup, top of the list. One of the best to ever do it. S tier, baby! Fuck yeah.